3 hams will certainly kill him. 3 hams.
Hello, and welcome to the Catboy Rants. Today I would like to talk about something that I just got to see over the weekend. Something that I told myself I would never watch. That is Man of Steel. Now those of you out there who have actually already watched this film know that it's actually a pretty good film by itself. If you're taking a lot of the Superman mythos, however, there's a lot of things that people nitpick about. One being, when watching it, I kind of wondered where Brainiac was. As many of you know, Brainiac was the computer program, well, the computer that basically ran the society of Krypton. They didn't have that. They named something else that. So, yeah. Now, I like the whole thing that they brought in for how, the world was going to go ahead and end and all that. But, I don't know, there was a lot of little inconsistencies. Like the whole Superman being the last, Kal-El being the last true born child on the planet. That, in the comics, that was never the case. I mean, Kryptonians, they were genetically modified, as per the comics themselves, where they could not leave Earth without causing some issues to themselves. That's why a lot of people say, well, why didn't a lot of people leave Krypton? Since they knew it was going to explode. Well, one, Brainiac kind of told them no, it wasn't exploding, so a lot of people were like, oh, okay. It's like if basically, we saw the ground erupting outside and we went and looked on Fox News and it said, no, everything's fine. Go back, it's just a small tremor, everything will be fine. Two, the person who, as per the Superman comics, the person who actually genetically modified the Kryptonian people was one of Kal-El's ancestors, and this was basically to help with the racial purity. So kind of weird shit happening from Krypton, and they had to be, pure. Yeah. So I can understand their whole, and this is, like I said, this is taking everything from the comics and going towards the movie. Now, when I watched it, that's how I was looking at it. However, that's not how we should have looked at it. What we should have done is actually looked at it like a standalone movie. Because it's kind of like the Batman movies. You gotta watch it as a standalone too. Batman Begins, wonderful in how they basically took him and made him, they followed the Batman mythos very well. How he traveled the world, learned how to fight. I mean, beautiful how they did that. They talk in the comic books how he had different teachers and such. In the movie, they talked more like he was just trained by the League of Shadows, which is all right, for the movie, standalone movie. Those who are purists about the comic books, you're never going to get a true Batman or Superman film. Not as close to the Christopher Reeve's Superman. I mean, that one was as close as you can possibly get to the comic books. But to get back onto the film, I watched it on HBO, and I thought, well, might as well watch it because it's the only thing on. And I was very, very impressed with the movie itself. As a movie, this could have been just a standalone hero movie. This didn't need to be Superman. But they wanted to put Superman in there, because it does touch to a lot of the things that Superman did. I did not like the whole portrayal of Clark's father, Mr. Kent, for two reasons. And again, I will go ahead and throw in the comic book versus the movie. As per the movie, if we just saw it as a movie, I liked it very well because he was trying to protect his son. He didn't want his son to be seen as anything more than what he, a good person. Granted, he did go a bit further than what he really should have. Especially the scene where they're in their car and they're talking about how he wants to do more, and he's saying, well, what you think feeding people is not good enough, being a farmer. myself, I come from a farming community, so I understand this. You know, you get a person who's had several generations of farmers growing up on their farm, learning, trying to go ahead and till the land, get everything done exactly as needed, and then to find out a lot of their children do not want to stay on the farm. They've seen the world, they want to leave, and that's fine. But when it comes down to it, somebody's got to stay home to take care of it, because if everybody moves into the city, nobody's creating the food. Jonathan Kent in the Superman movie was a great turn from what the comic book Superman was. In fact, in The Death of Superman, right before you get to the Return of the Superman, there is a comic book where Jonathan Kent has a heart attack, and as he's going through the motions of passing into death and then coming back, he realizes it was partially his fault. He's the one who told his son, Clark, to go ahead and try the suit. He even remembers a time where he's sitting in the dark with his son. Clark is talking about how he saved those people, and he doesn't know what to do because people might figure out who he is. And if that's the case, you know, they might want him to do other things. People might want him to do bad things. And he doesn't want that. He wants to be just someone to be helpful to the world. But he's afraid that people will find out who he is and use that against him, which does happen in the Kenny Braverman / Conduit saga, where basically everybody that Superman knew was being hunted / killed by Conduit because of the whole thing with Kenny Braverman. I highly recommend reading that series, especially for the ending. Ends exactly the way it needed to. But as we're going on, I mean, Jonathan Kent, this whole movie was supposed to be a darker version, less, well, to be a better word, less DC version of Superman. Just like the Batman series is a less DC version of Batman. I mean, he seemed like he was going ahead and using a lot more selfish judgment for himself than what Batman normally would do. So, with this is a Superman trying to come to terms with what he is. As we've seen in comic books, Smallville, Lois and Clark, animated series, and some games, and other animated series, and the previous movies, Clark knew when he was younger that he was different. And when he was a teenager, he learned more that he was what he was, thanks to finding out about that little green stone. I'm not going to say it because those of you who know what it is. So, and that's how he learns. In this, he doesn't learn until it looks like he's in his late 20s, early 30s. Which brings another thing to this, okay? And I'm going to skip a little bit around because this deserves to skip a little bit around. And I'm sorry, this part really bugged me. I liked the whole flashbacks that gets us into figuring out who he is, where he's at, and what his mindset is. However, at the same time, I don't like how, at the end, he gets a job with the Daily Planet. Yes, I understand. Clark Kent is a reporter with the Daily Planet. But the reason he's a reporter for the Daily Planet is because he paid his dues. Comic book, animated series, Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman, every other thing basically tells you how he got the job. He was qualified for it. He started out as a newspaper boy in Smallville. Later rose to be the editor of the Smallville Gazette. You know what happened? He basically was able to go ahead and turn a small town newspaper into one of the biggest in their area. Yeah, that's what Clark Kent did. And when he realized he wanted to get out of Smallville, he decided he was going to work for the Daily Planet. And with his qualifications and his credentials and his experience, he was given the job by Perry White. In the movie, he says he needs a job that's close to the action and that people wouldn't really be suspicious if he started asking questions. Which I'm sorry, that's not the way getting a job works. You show up, you show your resume, and you say, yes, my name is Clark Kent. I have no experience in news. However, I worked on a oil platform, a fishing boat, and I worked as a hired hand, a lot of labor, and that's about what you got from the movie. Never did we see Clark really do a lot of schoolwork. We didn't get to see him do anything in college. We didn't have any mention to him. I mean, it seemed like as soon as his dad died, he just left. He left Smallville. Now, when he left Smallville, he looked like he was in his 18 years old. I'm sorry, you need a degree in journalism to be a reporter. And you don't get that off of, a fishing boat. Sorry. So that's the thing that got me. I don't care about the whole neck snapping thing. That in itself, the whole fight between him and Zod, that in itself had to happen. The final two Kryptonians. Zod telling him, it makes sense if you really listen to it. Zod himself has been made to basically protect the Kryptonian people any way possible. And as soon as the people, all Kryptonians are basically wiped out, he has no real reason to fight anymore. And his only real reason now to fight is revenge. And I can understand that. I mean, if you've got somebody who's been trained since conception to be the best of the best of the best with honors, and to basically protect one specific thing, and then they lose that, that is a dangerous thing to do. So when Zod tells him, this is going to end one way or another, this is going to either end with my death or yours, he's telling him straight up, he's not going to let up. Which is a thing for Superman, which in the comics, Superman would fight to a standstill and would not kill. Even when it came to Doomsday, he was still trying to fight Doomsday to wound it, to stop it, never to kill it. It wasn't until the very end when he realized there's no way I can stop this thing. I've got to keep on fighting until finally either I drop down dead or it drops down of exhaustion. Still no death. If you watch an animated movie called Superman versus the Elite, there's even a thing there where he seems to go insane. And I will not ruin it for you because it's a very good film. So go ahead and go and watch it. Superman versus the Elite. I think it's still on Netflix. But to get back to the Superman movie, Man of Steel, when he gets to that point where he's holding him in a lock and he's trying to fight against Zod, this guy has been trained from birth. He's basically saying, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make you suffer. I'm going to take out every person that's here until you have seen me kill everyone and everything that you care about. And to see Zod do this, and to get to the point where the only way to stop him, he can't knock him out, he's not strong enough. The only way to stop him is to kill him. That was a very poignant point in the movie. I saw that and I thought, and it was just, it was one of those scenes where you see a character you've seen since you were a little boy, a character that was about truth and justice in the American way. He still is that, as per the movie. Truth and justice. Truth. The truth of the matter was that if he would have let the man live, Zod would have just gotten right back up and taken him down. There's no way to stop him. Because at that point, they don't know anything about kryptonite. They don't know that kryptonite will weaken a Kryptonian. So they have no way to really house him. What are they going to do? Put him in a lead-lined suit and just keep him there? No, and they can't put him back in the Phantom Zone. There is no Phantom Zone drives anymore. They took care of that. Justice. There wasn't really any justice to it. However, he was trying to fight to save the lives of others, which is a just cause. The American way. Well, versus the 1950s and 40s American way versus the 1990s and the 2000s, it's changed. That Superman has basically changed to match the times as well. He will fight more readily at a drop of a hat, has become more thuggish, while at the same time trying to keep himself as an accomplished intellectual man. And that's what a lot of us are. And we try not to think that. I know myself I don't think that, but it seems like that. If you look at a lot of our entertainment, most of it is about violence and sex, which it's always been about that, but more prevalent now. There's more violence to other people. And it's not so much because of also what we're seeing on television. It's how we're treating each other as well. We're thinking, I can do more to get what I want. We're being more selfish. And that's just the way we are. Now, there's a lot of people out there that give quite a bit to other people. But for every 5 people that do that, it seems like there's 100 that would rather just do what they need. And I know that's kind of a terrible thing to say, but that's just the way it seems sometimes. Now, not all the time. There's some, like I said, there's some great people that do some great works out there. So, not everybody. And that's why Superman will be one of those superheroes that will be always hard to really relate to in the end. And honestly, I would recommend, again, to watch Superman versus the Elite, just because it does show this in that film as well. The last thing I want to touch upon with the film itself is just the one thing that got me was with Zod and the other Kryptonians. With the machine they had, the Earth-building machine, they could have easily found another actual planet in the temperate life zone, and use that. I mean, even if they wanted to be selfish, they could have, I hate to say this, but they could have done how it should have ended, recommended, and that is, of course, colonize Mars. They've got a giant Earth-making machine. So, and that's the thing. If they would have just stopped and said, "Hey, look, I want to tell you, there's another planet you guys can inhabit. It's got water. You just need to use a little bit of your big machine there, and if you need to, use some DNA from Kal-El there, and instead of having Zod then see Kal-El as this, ultimate evil, he could see him as a partner in rebuilding their society. Now, at the same time, he could say, look, the people of Earth are a very generous people. They are willing to help in any way possible, as well as, of course, you. And that could be because in the movie itself, Zod himself is someone to try to basically protect the Kryptonian people. They were outside of the time of expansion. So that was all Zod was doing, was just protecting his people. Almost in a way. I know I keep on saying everything like Zod was there just to protect. Zod was, yes, he was a bit ruthless in what he was doing. Probably a bad egg, but it's a valid points too. So, like I said, as for the movie Man of Steel, I'd recommend it to a lot of people. It's a good movie if you are not really huge into the backstory of Superman. If you are, I'd recommend watching Superman with Christopher Reeve. they did say with their promotion for the movie, you will believe that a man can fly. And I will tell you, it does make you believe that a man can fly. If you watched it when, the special effects were, top-notch back then. If we did it now, it'd probably be a bunch of CGI and guns. So, hey, we did. It's Man of Steel. So, I'm glad I kept on topic this time. We're getting about 21 minutes right now. So I just want to say to all of you out there, this was the video for Tuesday, the 6th. And I hope you enjoyed the comic yesterday and the comic tomorrow. So until Thursday, which we'll talk about something else, I hope you all have a good day and a great week. Bye.
Time for go to bed.